Victoria, sweetie, maybe you should focus on getting a real job before giving career advice. Some of us actually work in the corporate world. Richard's voice carried across 3 tables at my mom's wedding reception. His colleagues laughed. My face burned. And my mom, she just smiled and looked away. My name's Victoria. I'm 26 years old. What Richard didn't know was that in 48 hours, he'd be sitting across from me in a conference room, trying to explain why he'd insulted his CEO. Sorry, his CEO. I lost my dad when I was 19. He was a small business owner, the kind who worked weekends and taught me spreadsheets at the kitchen table. He taught me about hard work, about building something that mattered, about doing it quietly. 3 years ago, my mom started dating Richard. It moved fast, too fast. Suddenly, I wasn't her priority anymore. I was just there. By the time they got engaged, I'd already been pushed to the side. Richard's a senior project manager, the kind of guy who talks about his industry connections and real-world experience at every family dinner. He treated me like a kid who didn't understand how business worked. Here's the thing, I'm the founder and CEO of Catalyst Tech Consulting. It's a mid-sized tech firm, not flashy, but profitable, growing. I don't post about it on social media. I don't brag at dinners. I just build. To them, I was still the quiet girl who did something with computers. If you've ever been dismissed by someone who married into your family, hit subscribe and drop your country below. I want to know I'm not alone. I tried to be supportive of my mom's happiness. I really did. But the more she prioritized Richard's opinions, the more she stopped asking about my work. The more I felt erased. And here's the irony. If Richard had ever actually asked what I did for a living, he might have recognized my company name. But he never asked. 3 months before the wedding, we had an engagement dinner. That's when I met Brooke, Richard's daughter. She's 28, works in marketing. And from the moment we shook hands, I could feel her condescension. "Oh, you do freelance computer stuff?" she said, twirling her wine glass. "That's cute. Maybe I can refer you to our IT guy if you need real clients." I smiled. "Thanks, but my company's doing well." Richard jumped in before I could say more. "Well, in my industry, we differentiate between hobbyists and professionals. No offense, Victoria." My mom changed the subject fast. She didn't defend me, not once. A week later, she asked Brooke to be her maid of honor. She offered me a bridesmaid spot, like an afterthought. "If you want. No pressure." No pressure? Right. At the dress fitting, Brooke made little comments about budget. "Don't worry, we can find something affordable for you." I paid for my dress without hesitation. $300. Didn't blink. Brooke looked surprised. 2 weeks before the wedding, we had a family dinner. Richard was bragging about his company landing some major new contract. That's when I realized he worked for TechBridge Solutions, the same company my firm had landed a massive consulting contract with 4 months earlier. I stayed quiet, just listened, took mental notes. "You wouldn't understand the pressure, Victoria," Richard said, leaning back in his chair. "When you're responsible for million-dollar projects, every decision matters." I nodded, said nothing. Later that night, my mom pulled me aside. "Please just try to get along with Richard. This is important to me." I looked at her, really looked at her. "Okay, Mom." But I knew the truth. I'd lost her long before the wedding. The final seating chart confirmed it. Table 12, me, distant relatives, Richard's random co-workers, Mom and Richard's family. Table 1, my own mother's wedding, and I was an afterthought. The rehearsal dinner was worse. I got a text from Brooke, not my mom, Brooke. "Dinner Friday at 7. Here's address. Prick fix is 120 pp. Venmo me." I wasn't included in any planning. When I showed up, I was seated at the end of the table next to Richard's colleagues. One of them, Mark, asked what I did. Richard interrupted before I could answer. "Victoria's in tech. Does some consulting work, small-scale stuff." Mark nodded politely. The conversation moved on. Later, I overheard Richard talking to another guest. "My stepdaughter is still figuring out her career. She'll get there eventually." I stared at my plate, counted to 10, didn't say a word. Wedding morning, I brought a gift. High-end kitchen set, $800. Brooke opened the card and blinked. Wow, did you save up for this? I just smiled. The ceremony was beautiful, emotional, but I felt like I was watching my mom's life from behind glass, like I wasn't really part of it anymore. At the reception, Richard gave a speech. I'm gaining a wonderful wife and, well, her daughter too. Victoria's a sweet girl, still finding her way. I hope I can teach her a thing or two about success. People laughed. My mom smiled. I felt something crack inside me. During dinner, Richard's colleagues asked about my work. I started to explain. Richard cut me off. Victoria, sweetie, maybe you should focus on getting a real job before giving career advice. Some of us actually work in the corporate world. Nervous laughter rippled around the table. Someone asked, "What's your company called?" Richard answered for me. "Oh, it's some startup thing. You wouldn't have heard of it." I excused myself, walked outside, took a breath. That's when Richard followed me. "Look," he said, hands in his pockets. "I know you're trying with this business thing, but let me give you real talk. Why don't you work for a legitimate company? I could probably get you an entry-level position, maybe admin?" I shook my head. "I'm fine." He pushed harder. "Don't be prideful. Your mom worries about you, you know. She doesn't say it, but she's embarrassed. Let me help you fix this." My voice came out tight. "I don't need fixing." He laughed. "That's exactly what someone who needs help would say." He walked back inside. I stood there, watching through the window as my mom laughed with Richard's family. That's when it hit me. I didn't just lose my place in her life. I'd been erased from it entirely. I pulled out my phone. 3 texts from James, my business partner. Text 1. TechBridge just confirmed expansion contract. Your meeting is Monday at their headquarters. Text 2. Did you want me to send updated org chart? You're listed as primary stakeholder now. Text 3. Also, isn't that Richard's company? Small World LOL. I'd completely forgotten about the Monday meeting. What Richard didn't know, what none of them knew, was that 6 months ago, my company secured the biggest contract we'd ever landed. TechBridge Solutions needed a complete digital infrastructure overhaul. My firm was brought in as lead consultant. The contract was worth $2.3 million over 2 years. And as CEO and primary stakeholder, I'd be attending every major meeting, including Monday's restructuring evaluation. Richard had mentioned his department was undergoing evaluation at Easter. He'd bragged it was a chance for top performers to shine. I hadn't connected the dots until now. I wasn't vindictive by nature. But sitting there, after everything, what they didn't know was that Monday morning, I wouldn't be the struggling freelancer they pitied. I'd be the person evaluating whether Richard's entire department was worth keeping. I walked back inside, shoulders back, different energy. Mark approached me with genuine questions about my work. I answered honestly, mentioned my company name. Catalyst Tech Consulting. His face changed. Wait, Catalyst? You work there? I smiled. Small. Calm. I founded it. He went pale, excused himself. I knew word would spread, but not before Monday. Sunday morning, I met James at a coffee shop. He's been my business partner and mentor since I started the company. He knew my dad, helped me build everything after I lost him. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked. We can send someone else to TechBridge. I shook my head. No, I need to be there. He leaned back. He said that to you? At your mother's wedding? Yeah. What are you going to do? I met his eyes. My job, nothing more, nothing less. We reviewed the presentation. Department evaluations, efficiency reports, data analysis, Richard's department, underperforming, over budget, poor communication. The data was already damning. James asked again. What are you going to do? Present the facts. Sunday afternoon, my mom called. Thank you for coming yesterday. I know Richard can be Direct, but he means well. I paused. Does he? He's just trying to help, honey. He's successful. He knows how the business world works. I said it quietly. So do I, Mom. She didn't hear the weight in those words. She hung up quickly. Richard was shouting in the background about honeymoon packing. Sunday evening, I got the email confirmation. Meeting. 9 a.m. Monday, conference room A. Attendees included Richard Morrison, Senior Project Manager, his boss, the VP of Operations, department heads. I'd be presenting findings and recommendations. I prepared meticulously. This wasn't about revenge. It was about professionalism. I chose my outfit carefully. Tailored navy suit, the one I wore when we closed the original contract. My power suit. Brooke texted me that night. Hope you had fun at wedding. Thanks for gift. Super generous for someone on a startup budget. I didn't respond. James called one last time. You ready? I looked at myself in the mirror. I've been ready for this my whole life. I just didn't know it. Monday, 7 a.m. I arrived early at TechBridge headquarters. Security recognized me immediately. Good morning, Ms. Hayes. Conference room is ready. I set up my presentation. Reviewed notes one final time. At 8:55, attendees started arriving. Richard walked in with coffee, laughing with his boss. He didn't notice me. I had my back turned, connecting my laptop. He took a seat, scrolled his phone. At 9 a.m. sharp, the VP started the meeting. Thank you all for coming. We're here with our lead consultants from Catalyst Tech Consulting to review Q2 performance and restructuring recommendations. Richard was still looking at his phone. The VP continued. I'll turn it over to Catalyst's CEO to walk us through findings. I turned around. Richard's head snapped up. Our eyes met. Dead silence. His face cycled through confusion, recognition, disbelief. His boss noticed. Richard, you okay? He stammered. Yes. Sorry. I didn't miss a beat. Good morning, everyone. I'm Victoria Hayes, CEO and founder of Catalyst Tech Consulting. Thank you for having me. I clicked to the first slide. I walked them through the evaluation. Company-wide efficiency metrics. Department comparisons. Richard's department was highlighted. Not maliciously, just factually. Project Management Division has seen a 23% budget overrun across the last 3 quarters, with communication delays averaging 12 days per milestone. Richard's boss was taking notes, frowning. Our recommendation is restructured workflow with clearer accountability checkpoints. I was calm, authoritative. Every inch the CEO I am. Richard was visibly sweating. He tried to interject. I can explain those delays. His boss cut him off. Let's hear the full presentation first, Richard. I continued through the slides. Never personal, always professional. But I made deliberate eye contact with Richard at key moments. I showed a comparison chart, his department versus others. These inefficiencies are costing approximately $340,000 annually. Richard's boss leaned forward. That's significant. I offered a lifeline. However, with proper oversight and training, this is correctable. I wasn't throwing him under the bus, but the power dynamic was crystal clear. During Q&A, Richard tried to recover. Ms. Hayes, I think you might be missing some context on those project delays. I stayed polite, firm. I have the full project reports, including email chains and meeting notes. The context is accounted for in our analysis. Direct callback to his comments about me not understanding the real world. Mark shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I discussed implementation, 6-week rollout, training, new accountability metrics. Then I delivered the kicker. I'll be personally overseeing the first month of implementation to ensure smooth transition. Translation. I'd be Richard's direct oversight. Richard finally broke. I'm sorry. When did you? I didn't realize you were. I looked at him calmly. You didn't realize I was what, Richard? The room went silent. The CEO. I didn't know you were the CEO of Catalyst. I let the words hang. You never asked what I did. You just assumed. His boss looked between us, confused. Do you two know each other? I kept my voice professional. Richard recently married my mother. We're family now. The weight of that statement settled over the room. Awkward silence. I didn't pile on. I returned to the presentation, wrapped up with final recommendations. Any final questions? Richard's boss spoke. This is excellent work, Ms. Hayes. We'll implement immediately. He turned to Richard. I'd like to meet with you after this. We need to discuss your department's performance. Richard nodded. He looked sick. The meeting adjourned. Richard approached as I packed my laptop. Victoria, Can we talk? I didn't look up. We just did. You know what I mean. I didn't know. If I had... I stopped, met his eyes. If you had known I was successful, you would have treated me differently? That says everything, doesn't it? He got defensive. I was trying to help. You thought I was nobody. You treated me like I was an embarrassment at my own mother's wedding. I was just joking around. No, my voice was steady. You were tearing me down to feel bigger, and my mom let you. I closed my laptop bag. I'm not going to fire you, Richard. I'm not even going to make this personal. But every time you sit in a meeting with my recommendations on the table, every time you have to report to my team, I want you to remember this. I paused at the door. You said I needed to focus on getting a real job. Well, this is real, and so am I. I walked out. Behind me, I heard Mark's voice. Dude, that's your stepdaughter? She's the one you were making fun of at the wedding? The small-scale consultant? Richard's voice was hollow. I didn't know. Maybe that's the problem. I drove home. The adrenaline was fading. I felt exhausted, but lighter. That evening, my mom called. Richard told me what happened today. And? He's upset. He said you embarrassed him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I embarrassed him? Mom, he spent months dismissing me, insulting my career, treating me like a child. At your wedding, he told everyone I needed to get a real job. He didn't mean it like that. He's used to being respected in his field. My voice stayed steady. So am I, but he never bothered to see that. Silence on the line. Why didn't you tell me your company was doing so well? The painful truth came out. I tried. You stopped listening. More silence. That's not fair. Maybe not, but it's true. I could hear her breathing. I'm not sorry for what happened today. I did my job professionally and well. If Richard feels embarrassed, that's because he made assumptions about me, not because I did anything wrong. Her voice went quiet. He's my husband now. I know, and I'm still your daughter. The unspoken question hung between us. Who are you going to choose? She didn't answer directly. I need to go. She hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand, waiting for the sadness to hit. Instead, I felt freedom. For once, their silence didn't hurt me. It freed me. I'd spent years trying to earn a place in my mother's life, trying to be enough. Nothing worked, because the problem was never me. I texted James. Meeting went well. I'll send you the notes. His response came immediately. Proud of you, kid. I smiled. I finally understood I never needed their approval. I'd built something real, something mine, and no one could take that away. If this story hit home for you, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me, have you ever been underestimated by your own family? Because I read every single comment and I want you to know you're not alone. Whether it's a stepdad who dismissed you, a parent who chose someone else, or a family that never saw your worth, your story matters. And if you're out there building something, working towards something, proving everyone wrong, keep going. They don't need to see it coming. Drop where you're watching from below. Let's build a community of people who know what it's like to be underestimated. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.